Hi everyone, hope you guys are all having a great day. Today I am going to do my last video in my 'Tis the Season series about books that remind me of Christmas themes. So those other two videos were about books that remind me of peace and books that remind me of love, and today I'm going to end with books that show grace or exemplify grace. And I'm going to start with the definition of terms again. So we are looking at grace as undeserved love, favor, and forgiveness. And this is actually, as I was trying to brainstorm books for this one, it was very difficult because I could not find grace in stories that was completely undeserved. A lot of times we will see where forgiveness is given in a story after the offending character has worked and worked and worked, or after the offending character has proven that they have changed, and then you feel content when your protagonist forgives that person. However, that's not grace, that's just forgiveness, and it's deserved. You know, when somebody has shown that they have changed and they have proven that they're trustworthy again, that's just forgiveness. Grace is different because grace is undeserved. And I think it's particularly difficult because Ravi Zacharias makes this point that our society, secular society, has no model for grace. We have no model for undeserved forgiveness and favor. And I think we can take that a step farther and say that our society really values a good revenge story. And I'm not gonna lie, I enjoy those stories as well, but that is not what we're talking about today. So, and then one final point is that I think these stories are hard to find because if we can see it coming to that point, we almost put it down because we don't trust it, we don't like it. And C.S. Lewis made the comment in one of his books, I don't know, sorry, that it's difficult to write purely good characters because they're not believable. And so as humans, we just find this element of grace incredibly difficult. So I only have three books for you, today. If you can think of more, please send them my way or put them in the comments below. So without further ado, I'll just share the books with you. I'm going to start with Narnia, again, but it's one of the few that I could come up with. Narnia exhibits grace, in my opinion, because there are several characters who sin or, do other than what they are told to do, make poor choices that lead to, bad things happening, and they are forgiven. Edmund, in particular, is the character that I'm thinking of, and then also in another story, Eustace, the character who gets turned into a dragon, he is also forgiven. Those are elements of grace to me, although even Eustace, he gets turned into a dragon and that teaches him to change, so that one doesn't even really count, not by our definition of undeserved grace. So the only one I could think of was Edmund. The second book I'm going to share with you is Mitch Albom's The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. I will have spoilers for this, so if you haven't read this book and you want to, flip ahead to when you see the next book on the screen. So this book is about a man, an older gentleman, who dies and he feels like he has done nothing of importance in his life. And he is dying in an attempt to save a little girl from a carnival accident. That's his job. I believe he works as at some sort of amusement park, attempting to help just protect people, security, and things like that. But he dies and he feels like he hasn't succeeded. And so he meets 5 people in heaven who teach him various important lessons about love and hate and how to let go and why you should let go of that hate. And then at the end, which I feel is the most poignant part of this book, is this man was involved in war, and in this war he finds out that he killed a little girl, and it was a devastating, terrible death. And at the end, the last person he meets in heaven is that little girl who teaches him forgiveness, who helps him move beyond that. And she says to him, you did save that little girl on the carnival ride. It wasn't her hand that you felt, it was my hand pulling you into heaven. And she asks him to wash her with a stone like her mother did, and he washes away her wounds. And it was just this beautiful picture of grace and forgiveness for me. And he is not a perfect character, completely human, and he's just going through these lessons, and I thought it was a really lovely story. And then the final book on this list is one that I had a really difficult time reading because of the grace. I don't think I could do it. So again, I'm going to have spoilers for the book Fall on Your Knees by Anne Marie McDonald. This is a multi-generational story of just sin, man, and how it corrupts and devastates a family. So you have the father and mother, and the mother dies early on, and the father is incredibly abusive, not just emotionally and physically, but sexually abusive to one of the daughters. And it's just, there's all kinds of terribleness in this story. And so the one daughter who is abused rebels in these really, really terrible and sad ways, and she lives an incredibly hard life as a direct result of what her father has done to her. And then the other daughter, who's not abused, ends up going into the church. And she, this is a perfect example of how religion, legalism, without grace is going to draw you as far away from God as you can possibly imagine, because she cannot show grace to anybody. She can't forgive anybody. She can't show love or tenderness and kindness to anybody. And the older she gets and the farther she gets into her religion, the farther she gets into Christianity, this legalistic aspect of it, the farther away she gets from this concept of grace. On the other hand, the daughter who was constantly abused and whose life was just destroyed because of what the father did to her, eventually comes to a point where she sits down and has to have meaningful conversations with this man, and somehow she forgives him, somehow. And this is why I think that we struggle with grace so much, because he doesn't deserve it. He hasn't changed. He's the same man. He's not continuing to abuse her. It's not what I'm saying. But he hasn't repented. And yet somehow she can move past that and build a relationship with him. It's a very difficult story to read, and there are heartbreaking elements of it, but there's also very joyful and hopeful elements of it in the end of a reunion. How do you make that? Certain members of the family in the next generation reunite, and they didn't even know that they had family because of some of the other sins that went on. And it is a beautiful story of grace and redemption in the least likely places, and it's I would definitely recommend it if you are interested in those long generational sagas. So that is Fall on Your Knees. So those are the 3 books that I have for you about this unconditional grace, where you don't do anything to deserve it. That is the kind of grace that we receive from God. We don't do anything, and we can't do anything to earn our salvation. And I suppose that's another topic. Why do you need salvation? But it's not something I'm going to get into in this video. Suffice it to say that I believe we are sinners and we need God's grace, and praise God, He gives it to us. And that's what we're celebrating in this Christmas season. If you have other books that I should add to this list, I would love for you to leave them in the comments below, because I would love to read them and see that element played out in literature. I think that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, and I will come back after Christmas with an end of the year video. So I hope you all have a Merry Christmas. Thanks. Bye.